They told me, son, you're special. You were born to do great things. You know what? They were right.
Bioshock is an incredibly twisted and unique universe, and I absolutely love it. I finally finished Bioshock 1. I never played the original, I'm playing the remastered version from the collection. I've always heard really good things about the Bioshock series, always heard the Bioshock 1, some people consider this game to be a masterpiece. And so I finally sat down and played it. I, however, did play it kind of incorrectly, shall we say. I enjoyed it all the same, but I played it kind of wrong, if that makes sense. So today, in today's video, we will be delving into the depths of Bioshock and the world of Rapture. Obviously, what I kind of thought of this game, and kind of thoughts on the sequel, because I will be playing that next. So Bioshock, set in a fictional city, set underwater, known as Rapture. The game follows you as a kind of almost silent protagonist. You do make kind of noises, but a silent protagonist more or less. As you accidentally stumble upon this kind of world beneath the surface, so to speak. Now, I tried getting into Bioshock years ago. Like a really long time ago with the remaster, because I bought the collection like a good few years ago, and if I'm being completely bluntly honest with you, I really didn't enjoy this game the first time I played it. I didn't know what was going on, I didn't have a clue what I was doing, I just didn't enjoy it at all. And so when I came back and played it recently, I made a completely fresh save, completely started from fresh, like I'd never ever played the game before in my life. And started brand new. However, the big caveat to my playthrough, and this is why I'm saying I played it incorrectly, is that I played it with a guide. Reason I played it with a guide, very simple. I'm an achievement hunter. I wanted to know where all the audio diaries were, and I wanted to know what the specific achievements were, things like that I would miss. So I followed along with a 100% completion guide and used that then to obviously finish the game. The world of Rapture is incredibly twisted, and there are so many details about Rapture and the world of Bioshock that I have really kind of come to adore, from the big daddies and their hulking, mechs and their drills, to the little sisters that gather at them from corpses on the floor, to the splicers that climb on the ceiling or shoot at you, from the nitro splicers that throw explosives at you, to Sandra Cohen and the singing and the drama, and just the environments of Rapture are all just so incredibly twisted, so incredibly dark, and yet so incredibly, interesting, mysterious. There are just so many words to describe Rapture that I could probably sit here for hours and just keep reeling them off adjective after adjective. This world is incredibly well designed, incredibly well crafted, and the atmosphere of Rapture is just absolutely one of a kind. I don't think I've ever played a game that has created a world like this before, and I have a funny feeling I will never ever play a game that has created a world like this again. Now, the story of Bioshock 1 is following you as you are a named protagonist. Your name is Jack, but that name doesn't really come up very often. It's more so at the prologue, and that's about it. You follow through the game, you accidentally stumble upon Rapture after a plane crash. It miraculously lands you at a lighthouse almost. It is a lighthouse, and you discover this world by mistake. And you discover Rapture, created by Andrew Ryan, the man who created and brought Rapture to reality.
I am Andrew Ryan, and I'm here to ask you a question. Is a man not entitled to the sweat of his brow? No, says the man in Washington, it belongs to the poor. No, says the man in the Vatican, it belongs to God. No, says the man in Moscow, it belongs to everyone. I rejected those answers. Instead, I chose something different. I chose the impossible. I chose Rapture. City where the artist would not fear the censor, where the scientist would not be bound by petty morality, where the great would not be constrained by the small. And with the sweat of your brow, Rapture can become your city as well.
And you are basically at the beginning trying to survive. Very quickly on, the game introduces you to the inhabitants of this twisted underwater city, because pretty much immediately within the first 15 minutes of gameplay, we witness a man getting brutally murdered by a splicer, and then we've got to essentially survive. We get the assistance of a man named as Atlas. Seems like a very helpful guy, very nice. Essentially wants our help in rescuing his wife and child. In return, he'll get us back to the surface, we'll get back to mainland, essentially escape this hellhole that we've somehow stumbled upon.
I don't know how you survived that plane crash, but I've never been one to question Providence. I'm Atlas, and I aim to keep you alive. Now keep on moving. We're gonna have to get you to higher ground. Take a deep breath and step out of the bathysphere. I won't leave you twisting in the wind. We're gonna need to draw her out of hiding, but you're gonna have to trust me.
Things, understandably, don't go that way. Everything kind of goes tits up, piece by piece, because Andrew Ryan is very protective of his precious underwater city that has slowly kind of gone to shit, basically. Does not like Atlas one little bit, does not like the fact that you're working with Atlas. There's clearly tension between the two, clearly a rivalry going on. So every step of the way, every time you make a little bit of progress, Andrew Ryan steps in, sets you back, or sets you off course to go and do something else. Now, Andrew created this world, and as you can see from, obviously, the footage, it's honestly one of a kind. I've never ever played a video game with this kind of world, this atmosphere, ever have I played a game that looks like this, that has this kind of world building, this kind of atmosphere. Nothing ever have I played like this before in my life. So obviously Andrew Ryan is very, very proud of Rapture, as he kind of should be, because it's really, really cool. And he is a problem for most of the game. This man is looking to just protect his precious city, is trying to get rid of Atlas, trying to get rid of you because you're working for Atlas. He's just trying to protect what's his, and Atlas, understandably, is trying to get his wife and child out of Rapture, and obviously help you along the way. Now, partway through this mission that you have to help this random man find his wife and child, they die. Ryan steps in, overwhelms you with splicers, kills, Atlas's family, and it becomes not so much a rescue mission anymore and more of a vengeance mission. The new plan becomes to find Ryan and end him.
You've had your fun, but enough is enough. If you press that button, you'll learn what it means to truly be my enemy. cruise in like an assassin, and then you try to sneak out like a thief. You're no CIA spook. Who are you? Why have you come here? There's two ways to deal with a mystery. Uncover it, or eliminate it.
Get out! Get out and get to Arcadia! Jesus Christ! Moira. Patrick. Ain't that just like Ryan? Waits until we're almost out, then he pulls the string. We'll find the bastard. We'll find him and we'll tear his heart out.
I came to this place to build the impossible. You came to rob what you could never build. A hum gaping at the gates of Rome. Even the air you breathe is sponged from my account. Well, be deep. Later you might remember the taste.
You get to the bathysphere in the rolling hills. That'll take you straight to the devil himself. And then all debts will be paid in full.
And throughout the game, you do exactly what Atlas says. You finally get to Ryan in the end. You obviously get to your main objective, which is to kill Andrew Ryan. And it's a very visceral scene, a very, very gruesome scene. And it also paints a far, far wider picture that we, the player, did not know up until this point, as you can see here.
The assassin has overcome my final defense, and now he's come to murder. In the end, what separates a man from a slave? Money? Power? No. A man chooses. A slave obeys. You think you have memories. A farm. A family, an airplane, a crash, and then this place. Was there really a family? Did that airplane crash, or was it hijacked? Forced down by something less than a man, something bred to sleepwalk through life until they are activated by a simple phrase spoken by their kindly master. Was a man sent to kill, or a slave? A man chooses. A slave obeys. Come in. Stop, would you kindly? Would you kindly? Powerful phrase. Familiar phrase.
Would you kindly? Would you kindly get this? Would you kindly find that? Would you kindly find it? Would you kindly find it? Would you kindly get this? Would you kindly head to Ryan's office and kill the son of a bitch?
Sit, would you kindly? Stand, would you kindly? Run! Stop! Turn. A man chooses. A slave obeys. Kill! A man chooses! A slave obeys! Obey!
So there's the big twist of Bioshock. Would you kindly pick up that wrench? Would you kindly cave his skull in? Would you kindly grab this? Would you kindly do that? Would you kindly do this? It turns out the entire time Atlas has not been who he says he is. In fact, it's Frank Fontaine, presumably dead conman, who has actually been masquerading as Atlas this entire time. And Fontaine is looking to just take Rapture from underneath Ryan's feet, steal all the Adam he can, and essentially make big bucks, because Adam is obviously what they use to splice their genes to get their powers, their plasmids, fire, electricity, ice, etc. All the cool powers you get to use in Bioshock come from Adam. Fontaine's whole plan: steal Rapture, keep the city, steal all the Adam, sell it for big bucks, basically become rich. He's a con man, that's what he does. Now obviously the problem here is the player's been clearly backstabbed, left to rot, left to die, and the new mission becomes to end Fontaine. Obviously, because as the player, we've been wronged. We've been going this whole way trusting this man Atlas, when actually we've just been his puppet this entire time. We've just been mind controlled by the simple phrase, "Would you kindly?" It's a huge twist for a video game. I really enjoyed it. I really liked the twist. And obviously, if you've been playing along the game, you're finding audio diaries, you kind of start to pick things up more quickly rather than just kind of rushing through. And obviously the way the game paints it on the walls, "would you kindly," all the little dots connecting and all that, all the little details. It's an incredibly sick way to find out that for pretty much half of this game you've just been being used by the actual main antagonist, and the man you've just brutally murdered may actually not have been the antagonist at all. It's just how circumstances kind of came about.
Nice work by you all. It's time to end this little masquerade. There ain't no Atlas kid. Never was. Selling my line of work takes on a variety of aliases. Hell, once I was even a Chinaman for 6 months. You've been a sport, so I guess I owe you a little honesty. The name's Frank Fontaine. I gotta say, I had a lot of business partners in my life, but you, of course, the fact that you were genetically conditioned to bark like a cocker spaniel when I said, "would you kindly," might have had something to do with it, but still, as soon as that machine finishes processing the genetic key you just fished off Ryan, I'm gonna run Rapture tits to toes. You better, pal. You know what they say. Never mix business with friendship. Thanks for everything, kid. Don't forget to say hi to Ryan for me.
Now, the new mission becomes to end Atlas, also known as Fontaine. Either or is fine. And you go through this through the help of a Dr. Tenenbaum, the creator, or helped to create the Little Sisters. And she helps you to essentially become a Big Daddy, to then take on Fontaine, and with the help then of the Little Sisters, you deal with him. And depending on how you played the game, whether you rescued or harvested those Little Sisters, you will either get a good or bad ending. I don't know what the bad ending is. I only got the good ending, which is where Jack takes all of the Little Sisters, he takes them away from Rapture, takes them to the surface, builds a normal life for them and himself, and eventually presumably passes away peacefully in bed, surrounded by his quote-unquote daughters that he has rescued. It's a very sweet ending, honestly, for such a twisted game. Like, it's a genuinely, like, kind of nice ending for this protagonist who essentially was born, bred, and used literally as just like an ace in the sleeve. It's a really nice kind of ending for Jack and for the little sisters as well, because obviously their existence kind of sucks too.
They offered you this city. And you refused it. And what did you do instead? What I've come to expect of you. You saved them. You gave them the one thing that was stolen from them. A chance. A chance to learn. To find love. To live. And in the end, what was your reward? You never said. But I think I know. A family.
Now, obviously, there are obviously various mechanics to Bioshock, and we'll run through those now. So starting with the coolest one, plasmids are the cool powers you get through Bioshock. And I believe that's kind of where the name got its inspiration as well, because Bioshock, because a lot of the main story focuses on them splicing genes and getting these kind of powers. So I'm not sure if that's kind of where the name came from with the whole Bioshock. It would make sense. But essentially, they're called plasmids. They're the cool powers you get. You start with electricity, you get some fire, you can buy more throughout the game as you go with Adam, and essentially these are part of kind of like your arsenal of weapons. Very cool powers, very fun to use. I mostly use electricity, sometimes fire as well, but mostly electricity. Especially because I like to hack a lot of things. And that's another mechanic as well. You can hack vending machines, you can hack cameras, you can hack security turrets, you can hack security bots. If it's electrical, usually you can shock it and hack it and use it to your advantage. The hacking minigame in this game is actually not that bad either. It's essentially kind of connect tube kind of game. And you've essentially got a timer. Obviously, you've got to get it done before the liquid gets too far and obviously fails. Some hacks are more difficult than others. Some of them are really, really hard. Some of them are impossible. So you have like quick hacks, or you can sometimes pay in-game money to kind of like bypass it instead. It depends honestly on what you want to do. But yeah, there's hacking in this game, and it's quite decent. Speaking of weapons as well, you get various guns throughout the game: pistol, shotgun, Tommy gun, submachine gun, but Tommy gun, grenade launcher, crossbow, napalm thrower, chemical thrower that shoots napalm. You get a quite cool inventory of actual weapons with various ammo types to use, from regular ammunition, armor piercing, anti-personnel, regular grenades, proxy mines, etc, etc. So there's a wide array of different kind of various weapons, various ammo types. You could play the entire game just using firearms. You could play the entire game just using plasmids. You can play with a blend. You can play melee only if you want and just play with a wrench. Like, that's your first weapon. It's completely up to you. Bioshock does not really limit you in any way to how you play the game. It is completely at the player's disposal whether they want to play ranged, play only weapons, plasmids, melee only, a mixture of all three. It's completely at the player's disposal what they want to do and what they want to upgrade. So you can upgrade weapons with weapon upgrade stations. You can upgrade plasmids and get new ones at vending machines. You mostly collect new weapons throughout the game and then pick up the various ammo types as you go. And the wrench is with you for the entire game, pretty much. So that never goes away. So you always have a melee option, should you just want to do that instead. So the game is very quite open, very quite kind of almost like very much opts for freedom of choice. There's no kind of section where you're kind of penalised into doing things a certain way. Granted, there will always be one weapon that's obviously better for another in certain situations. I myself personally found myself using the shock kind of electricity plasmid and the shotgun quite a bit, mainly because the shotgun in this game feels very satisfying to use, so I opted to use that for a lot of my playthrough. Plasmids as well are very fun, and the wrench itself is just really satisfying to bonk people on the head with as well, and kind of just genuinely beat the shit into them, especially when the splicers are coming at you. Speaking of enemies, pretty much every enemy in the game is some form of splicer for the most part. We've got regular kind of thug splicers, so you've got kind of like they've got guns, you've got nitro splicers which have explosive, spider slicers which in the name they're on the ceiling, they can climb, they're very fast, Houdini splicers which can disappear and reappear next to you, they're very annoying, and there are a couple of others. I feel like there's thuggish splicers, so they're just melee only. And then some of the other enemy types then are turrets, security cameras, and security drones, which can be a little bit problematic if you let them overwhelm you. And you've also got then the big daddies, namely the Rosie and the Bouncer. Now the Bouncer is the iconic big daddy from the actual gameplay cover art with the drill. The Rosie is a different kind of big daddy that has kind of more ranged attacks and is a little bit kind of different looking to the main kind of popular one, I suppose, then the more stereotypical. But yeah, those are the two types of big daddies. You got the Bouncers, which are the more kind of stereotypical cover art, big drill, big yellow eyes, kind of iconic. And then you've got the Rosies, which are slightly less iconic, but they're in the game as well. So those are the kind of enemies you're going to be facing in Rapture. Those are the kind of weapons and tools you'll have to defeat them. And then right at the end of the game then is a boss fight with Fontaine. It's kind of, I don't know, it was kind of underwhelming, I'm not going to lie, for a boss fight. He basically pumps himself full of Adam, becomes like huge, really strong, has bunches of all the plasmids, and basically you run up to him, you interact, you drain him of Adam 3 times, and he has phases. Like, I get the idea, and the idea does work, but it's just not an interesting boss fight in my opinion. He kind of like throws stuff at you and then kind of just runs at you. Like it's kind of underwhelming. It works, like it works absolutely fine. It does what it needs to do. It's just for a final boss fight, it's a little bit underwhelming. It didn't kind of the kind of oomph that you wanted it to have, at least for me. But it does its job fine. It does its job absolutely fine. It still works, so it's fine, good enough. And obviously then the game ends. So we've obviously touched on kind of story a little bit, touched on kind of gameplay a little bit, tools, mechanics, enemies. Soundtrack-wise, Bioshock has a really, really good soundtrack. Obviously, it's kind of based in 1960, based in the 60s. So you've got that kind of atmosphere and theme going on, and it works really, really well. It's really kind of not nostalgic, because obviously I wasn't around in the 60s, but it's got a kind of, I don't know, it's kind of a nice, almost like, I don't know, I really like the feeling of it. I don't know how to kind of explain what I mean. I just kind of really like the feeling of it. I don't know if that makes sense. Kind of like the vibrant neon signs. I like the music. I like the kind of atmosphere from the music. It just feels really, I don't know, it just works really, really well. Like Bioshock in a modern setting, I don't think would work at all. Whereas in this setting, it works fantastically well. So, I don't know how to explain what I mean. Like, I don't know, it's just how everything feels kind of like, not cozy, because that's not the right word either. And, like, not familiar either, because it's not familiar to me, because I wasn't around in that era. I wasn't even born. But, I don't know, it's got just, like, that feeling. Like, I like it. I really like it. I like the neon signs. I like the music. I like the atmosphere. I like the environment. I like all of it. I don't know. Maybe the 60s was just the time to be alive. I don't know. Maybe I missed out. Anyway, so we've obviously touched on gameplay, story, mechanics, weapons, loadouts, whatever. Obviously enemy types as well, splicers, big daddies, etc. The big bad end boss fight, the big twist in the middle of the game. So, honestly, I don't really know if there's anything else to talk about. Now, don't get me wrong, there were some things about Bioshock that I didn't like, and the main one was that it kept crashing. I haven't had a game be this buggy in a while. There were so many instances where the game would just die and just close on me. And then when I would boot it back up, the saves that I'd been making manually were not there. The game was just like, nope, they don't exist, sorry. And at one point, I was literally right at the last section of the game before the big bad boss fight, and my game crashed. I loaded back up, and my game literally told me that the save I was trying to use, it just kept saying fail to load save. So the save was there, it just didn't work. And I had to redo an hour's worth of progress. I was not happy. So while I love the atmosphere of Bioshock, I love how twisted the world is, I love the big daddies, I love how iconic they are, I just love everything about Rapture, and I really enjoyed the game for the most part. Having the crashes constantly definitely put a bad taste in my mouth. It may just be a me issue, I don't know. I have read little bits and bobs online that other people had these kind of issues as well, so maybe it's not just me. But for a remaster especially, I don't expect to have these kind of problems. I really don't. So it really kind of ruined it a little bit for me, because I was losing progress all the time, having to redo sections, which, like, again, some, like, the sections are cool, but when you have to redo them after being robbed of progress, it loses its impact a lot, because then it just feels like a chore and not a video game anymore. However, I digress. For the most part, Bioshock is a really, really good game. I would honestly recommend this to people. I'm really excited to play the sequel as well, because I've been told good things about that. And then obviously then rounding out then with the third game, which is obviously Bioshock Infinite. Obviously not set in Rapture. I believe that's set in the sky in like Colombia or something. I don't really know 100% because I haven't played it yet. But yeah, Bioshock 1, honestly a really good game, really good world building, really just fantastic atmosphere, fantastically twisted little game, and it's great. I can see why people really enjoyed this. Yes, there are a few things I didn't really like, and yes, the constant crashing did kind of spoil it for me, but if I get past those issues, then this really is just an incredible game to sit down and just really just soak in the atmosphere. So if you haven't played Bioshock 1, I'd highly recommend it. Get the remastered version, get the collection. It's not even that expensive. You get all 3 games, and you can then just sit through the whole trilogy. But that's it from me for this one, guys. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, subscribe, drop a comment, let me know what your favourite Bioshock game is, what your favourite moment from the first Bioshock game is. Much love as always, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye-bye for now.